everyone, I'm going to be talking to you today about the astrology for the first half of May and the full moon that we have coming up in Scorpio right at the beginning of the month on the 1st. Now, just before I get to that update, just some housekeeping. You may be aware, and I'm very aware, that there are scammers galore out there, not only scammers of my work, but of many people's work. But I'm aware of about 3 channels which are very prolific right now, stealing a lot of my content, rehashing it, putting really super negative titles on it like the end of the world and not everyone is going to make it and things that I would never ever say. Quite old videos, some of them, from 23, 24, and terrible production values, and people are assuming it's me and writing to me asking if I've gone to the dark side. Also, the scammers are not only impersonating me as the content, but also they are replying to the comments as if they are me. And so I'd be very grateful if you feel it's right for you to report them. I'll put the instructions of how you do that. It takes less than a minute actually below, but there's certainly 3 I'm very aware of. And the really easy way to check whether it's my channel or someone else's or a scammer's is I only have this channel. I only have this channel, Pam Gregory Official, and I never normally refer to the numbers, but because of your kind support, I've now got 464,000 subscribers, which is really amazing. So, thank you so much for that. Whereas the scammers have a few hundred subscribers, maybe 1,000, but not much more. That's the really fast, easy way to check. So, and also you can subscribe to this channel if you wish. I normally never ask you to do that, but that would be a helpful way to keep you on track just with this channel. Otherwise, there's a lot of misinformation there. Okay, thank you for that. And now let's talk about the astrology, because coming up on in very early May, and we'll see the chart in a moment, we have the full moon at 11 degrees 20 minutes of Scorpio. Now, 11 degrees 20 minutes falls in your chart because a full moon always represents a culmination, a completion, a closure. It's shining a bright light in that area, perhaps of something you weren't aware of in that area of life. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website. Just go to my website, pamgregory.com, and in the menu it has free birth chart. And if you go to the link below, you can go to a 2-part video series that will take you from 0 to explain to you where you find these points in your chart for the updates and what the meaning is for you, which area of life it's falling in. So this isn't a personal birth chart analysis. These are teaching videos, but you can watch them to infinity, as many times as you like, for as long as you like. So I know people found them incredibly helpful. So if we think of the sign of Scorpio, this is the most intense emotional sign in the zodiac. It's the sign most associated with secrets, deeply held, long repressed secrets. They're often sexual secrets, criminal secrets, big money, which is dishonest. This is the financial axis. The sun and moon are always opposite each other at a full moon. So the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Scorpio. And that is the financial axis, Taurus, Scorpio. Taurus is about banking and wealth and currency, and Scorpio is about investments. So the energy is quite complex and turbulent. The other end, the sun in Taurus, brings us back to the simple, brings us back to a connection to nature, actually, in the natural rhythms and the beauty of nature. So very different signs in this full moon. So let me show you the chart for this full moon. So as always, I set this for London. Otherwise, ignore the clock face. If you're not in the UK, ignore the houses. We're just going to focus on the planets and the signs they're in and their aspects to each other. So here we actually have a fixed grand cross. We have the moon, 1120 of Scorpio, the sun, 1120 of Taurus. They are both square to Varuna, a trans-Neptune object, TNO, and they are both square to Pluto. Now, whenever you get a fixed grand cross, there can be a lot of emotional digging in to whatever views you have, a sort of emotional position as well. And this is very much about power and control. This T-square, moon, Pluto, sun is very much, I mean, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, the modern ruler, and very much bring up issues around control, manipulation, power issues, power over. But it is also, of course, now in the sign of Aquarius, suggesting that the power is going to shift to the people. And I think we are really, really beginning to see this, because Aquarius is also the sign of freedom and truth. So however loud the 3D world is, and however controlling the top-down authorities appear to be, it's actually because they're in their dying phase. Louder and more hollow, as I've often said. So just observe that, know that that is right on time to happen, and know that as more secrets come to light, secret Scorpio, full light, this full moon, we are going to step back from the level of control that we've tolerated and really use that Aquarius energy for freedom, for truth, humanitarianism, power to the people. So I see this as a pretty big shift at this full moon. Jupiter is in a 165-degree aspect, this black line, this quindicile to Pluto. That also emphasizes issues around power. But the question is here, so it's power and urgency and obsession. But with Jupiter in Cancer, the sign where it's exalted, is that actually working for my own highest good, my own sense of nurturing and self-care, or not? Or is it a recognition that this is not working for my highest good? You know, these issues around power and control are going to be kind of writ large at this full moon. And recognize that self-care is so vital in how we create our new beginnings. Because here, Jupiter is square to Mars in its own sign of Aries, and it's a little bit wide to the squares to Neptune and Saturn. But nevertheless, these new beginnings, this initiation, this new era for humanity, that's very much Neptune, Saturn, has to include self-care and a really nurturing, wise self-care with a much greater understanding of our ancestral wisdom and ancient wisdom. All of that coming into play. We're bringing that back. We're remembering that as we go through this birth of new earth, and we stand strong in our sovereignty and our sense of inner authority and power. No longer. Mars in Aries is super strong on sovereignty. I know who I am. I'm not giving away my power to external authority anymore. So, as I've talked at great length, as have other astrologers, the Neptune-Saturn conjunction really has marked the new era, is marking the major new era for humanity, because it occurred at zero of Aries. And because they are also, certainly Saturn is conjunct Salacia, dwarf planet Salacia, this seashell glyph here. Remember, she was wife of Neptune in myth. She's mermaid energy linked to the shimmering sunlight, moonlight on the sea. This new era for humanity, this new birth that we're going through, will also include, to a greater extent, our understanding of structured Saturn water, Salacia, and light. And structured water and light being a very important part of the birth of New Earth, to get our health and our internal frequency optimized to broadcast out to the world. So how can we embody more light? Well, we can certainly do that through meditation, being in nature, but devices are now, or have already, I wasn't aware of this in the last update, but a couple of people have written to me and said there is certainly at least one device that optimizes light in the water, increases the amount of light in the water that we then drink to help the acceleration to the light body. Now, I don't, as you know, like to promote particular products on this channel. You can easily find that. If you do an internet search on light-infused water devices, you will easily find that. And I think they're just in the US right now, but we'll have more broader geography in the months to come. So it's another very interesting manifestation of what we're seeing in the astrology as well. So secrets come to light, which they undoubtedly will. Financial secrets, sexual secrets to a greater extent at this full moon. It is going to not only make people feel extremely intense about what is being divulged, what's being revealed, but it is stimulating more revolutionary energy. Because we have the moon in a quindicile to Eris. Can't see this very clearly, but a black line, quindicile to Eris. This is the feisty warrior sister of Mars, who is the goddess of chaos and discord, but is very revolutionary. You know, she does not stay quiet. She demands truth, justice, and inclusivity for all. Every voice to be heard. We also have Eris still in a tight conjunction to Chiron and Mercury in between. And so I've talked in recent updates about how we are becoming aware of how we've played the victim in our lifetimes. Most of us, I think, almost all of us probably, have played the victim. But this is now becoming more conscious, and we are starting to voice it. Mercury, we're starting to talk about it. And any sense of victimhood is now being turned into our inner sense of power. That's Mars, Eris, Mercury, Chiron, all in Aries, plus, of course, Neptune, Saturn, this rebirth for humanity stepping into our power. We also have Uranus in a semi-square to Mars. Whenever you get a Mars-Uranus combination, particularly hard aspect, it is eruptive, it's rebellious, it's seismic. And also here we have Uranus now already in Gemini, which it did on the 26th of April, conjunct Sedna, so that's a within sign, very tight conjunction. This conjunction becomes exact at the end of May. And they are also square. It's going to become a much tighter square on the 12th of June, and we're building into that, which is all about another surge of awakening truth for the collective. Big time. I think there'll be a big surge of energy in June. Equally, just to remind you, when Uranus moves into Gemini, 25th or 26th of April, depending on your time zone, there is very likely to be a big surge of energy for the Earth and humanity. And that may take several forms. It could be seismic activity, earthquakes, volcanoes. It could be solar activity, coronal mass ejections, X-class flares, big M-class flares. It could take that expression. It could be humanity rising in a really big way. It can also be, remember, because Gemini is to do with our transport, our communication, our internet, as is Uranus. We can see disruptions, Uranus, to those things, disruptions to internet or power grids, and actually Mars semi-square Uranus is often cyber attacks or attacks on the power grid, that kind of thing. It can also be aviation disruption, travel disruption. I know there's been quite a lot of travel disruption already for many people. I'm hearing from many people locally about flights cancelled, or sitting on a plane for 5 hours and then told the flight was cancelled. Lots of delays and disruption. They will become stronger, I believe, just in that last week of April and entering May. So be aware of that, because the energy is turbulent as Gaia goes through her own rebirth, and this is strong awakening energy. So, but with that comes much greater clarity around truth. Particularly, that's going to be strong at this full moon in Scorpio. Our galactic connections as well. And just to sort of hover over that for a moment, by galactic connections, I'm really seeing that at this stage more individually in our dreams, in our meditations, having a sense of either visualizing galactic beings, or telepathy with galactic beings, or an actual conversation, something being shared with galactic beings. I'm not talking about a whole horde of kind of little green men arriving. If that happens, please use your discernment. We need to turn inwards, because in a way, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is really talking about AI out there, what's true, what's not. It's very hard to tell what's true, what's not. Sometimes it looks so real. But if we turn inwards, we get clarity. And actually, Uranus in Gemini is part of that, because Uranus is always the piercing sword of clarity. We can see very clearly if we turn into our hearts and check in with our discernment. And so this is training for us. The AI and the what's true, what's not is training for us to have to go inwards rather than into our mind, into our heart now, to find out what's true, what's not. And I mentioned last time that Uranus in Gemini could start quite a surge of people not only speaking spontaneous light language, but galactic languages or ancient languages. And Eileen McCusick, who's a real expert in biofield tuning, she's done a lot of work on that, written books about, etc. She was with a group of friends, and they all spontaneously started to speak this ancient language that was coherent between them. So she actually wrote to me, because it was another beautiful example of what I was anticipating in the astrology. So new languages, different languages, ancient languages, galactic languages, light language. So much more crystalline energy coming in. And because we've got Uranus now conjunct Sedna more tightly within sign, this is a surge into our metamorphosis and our biological change. We are actually changing biologically. I've talked a lot about this over the last 18 months in a lot of detail about that. And we have the ignition point now, and particularly in late May when Uranus is exactly conjunct Sedna. This, therefore, Uranus in Gemini, remember it's going to stay here till 2033, is a very important ingredient for the new human as new biology, the rewiring of the brain. Uranus, Gemini, Uranus, electrical rewiring, Gemini is our consciousness. We are birthing a new species as this new human. We are birthing a new species as this new human. It's just the beginning of it. But we're becoming more crystalline. I just heard the wonderful Dr. John Ryan talking again in a recent interview about the 24th chromosome. He was a very senior medical practitioner. I believe he's actually a professor of medicine, talking a lot of detail about this. I'll put that video below. Remember this series of quantum leaps we are going through, both in our consciousness and our biology, will only happen once, to our knowledge. I mean, a whole series of things will happen, a whole series of steps, but this has never happened in human evolution before, because this time we're doing it through our physicality. In our physicality, our bodies are actually changing. And it is not anticipated, according to the various people I'm in contact with, that this will happen to such a degree again. So know the times we are in. They are extraordinary, truly extraordinary. And you are here in this lifetime to witness it. So I know there's a whole ton of chaos and crazies and horror and awfulness going on out there. Please really send your compassion every day. Do that free 15-minute meditation, 7 p.m. UK time. Go onto the meditation page of my website. That will have the details. And there are 2 free 15-minute meditations there. Join someone else's meditation. You can just do the meditation on your own, but it's helpful to link this at the same time, because there's a magnification in the group energy. So continue to feel peace and calm and soothing energy and compassion, but observe at a distance this chaos at the same time, because if you feed it, you'll keep on re-energizing what you absolutely don't want to see any more of. So be aware of it, feel compassion, send peace, send calm, and then step back and focus on what you absolutely want to create more of. So late May is a biggie as Uranus becomes exactly square to this nodal axis, and that's on the 12th of June. We are going to have yet another collective sense of awakening, truth, and higher possibilities coming in for us. Another big energy surge coming in. The full moon is also square to trans-Newtonian object Varuna. Varuna is god of divine cosmic order. He resides in the celestial waters, and he's the symbol of cosmic law, creation, and protection. And in Leo, this is expressing a new kind of leadership. Square to the sun and moon, reverence for the sacred in nature. He punishes liars and those who don't honor sacred law. Very similar to Orcus. Remember dwarf planet Orcus, the Etruscan god mythology. And so here we have the birth of a new spiritual leadership, a loving leadership, because also Varuna is exact by degree. In fact, astonishingly, it's within 1 minute sextile to Venus. Venus, love, Gemini, choose. Always choose love in the birthing of this new spiritual leadership. Just beautiful. Also, Saturn, Neptune, that signaled together when they moved in late February onto Zero of Aries. They are signaling here in this whole pattern a new cosmic divine order that incorporates this higher level of light, Salacia, and unconditional love. And we also have here this ongoing finger of fate, finger of God between Sedna, Homer, and Neptune. 3 degrees, 3 degrees, 1 degree. And that runs all of this year. So this is very much about regeneration. And with Sedna, she is the dwarf planet of metamorphosis par excellence. Now, I looked at the Sabian symbol for 12 of Scorpio, because you always have to round up to find the Sabian symbol. And there's a beautiful Sabian symbol from astrologer Judith DeHaan, D-E, and then separate word Han, H-A-A-N. And this Sabian symbol at 12 of Scorpio is an embassy ball where power masquerades as civility. An embassy ball where power masquerades as civility. I mean, I almost laughed hollowly at that. And isn't that what we've got right now in our society? Isn't that exactly what we've got? But I think, masquerades, we're seeing through the masquerade. Absolutely. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And I just want to talk. Uranus is going to stay in Gemini, as I say, until 2033. But I just want to sort of share a little more, because I'm going to be sharing more, as all astrologers are, month by month, as we sense more expressions of it. I certainly think it's going to bring in more alternative ways of living, because Gemini rules your day-to-day life, and Uranus is trine to Pluto by sign now, and Pluto's in Aquarius, which is all about the alternative, networks, coming together in communities. And it's also Uranus in Gemini, seeing through a new lens. This is new thinking. This is new perspective. It's like a kind of mucky windscreen, and all of a sudden you've been able to clear it. And wow, all of those things, those beautiful trees, the birds, nature, all of it was out there. You just couldn't see it before. So all of these things are within us that we are uncovering. We're remembering, we are uncovering. So it's a much bigger, more vast perspective. The mind is operating on more than one level. Gemini, it's multidimensional. And I think we are also going to start to experience other realities. And I think this is going to start to happen quite quickly. It's already happening for a lot of people. I'm aware of it via social media. So experiences of multidimensionality, experiences of other realities. You might see your future self or get a clearer view of a past life. Time is going to start to warp as well. It's going to be less rigid, linear time. Things are going to happen quickly. This rewiring of our brains. And this is very divergent energy, because Gemini is mutable air. So it's like a light splitting through a prism, or, the image I quoted, which is the dandelion, and you blow the dandelion and the spores go in all directions. That's the kind of divergent energy that Gemini has. But at the same time, what this full moon in Scorpio is teaching us, Scorpio is the planet with the clearest, most laser beam focus. So in contrast to the divergent energy, Scorpio, this full moon Scorpio, is giving us convergent energy, focus, concentration. And I really, really would suggest that we are very aware of using our focus and attention as navigating tools as we move through our lives. Think of them as the prow of a boat. If you've ever been sailing or on a boat, or as the prow of a boat, and you always have the prow of the boat in the direction that you want to head towards. That's your focus and attention that are helping you create your future, because you're being so incredibly focused and clear on the direction you want to go in. And the more you can live like that, yes, we're aware of, there's an awful lot of chaos, collapse, crumbling, cracking going on in that 3D world, which is right on time, remember. It's not a surprise. I've been talking about this in the astrology for the last couple of years. But focus on creation now. It really helps if you're in a group of like-minded people and you're all focusing on the same thing. I mean, that's why the meditation is helpful, because we're all coming together, thousands of us across the world, with the same intention of helping to build a more loving world. And that they're a huge number, and we know that the numbers magnify the energy. But even, last week I spent a very, very full, intense week with a beautiful group of people on my first week of shamanic training in France, and it was just absolutely fabulous to be with like-minded people who were all open-hearted. We all trusted each other completely. We shared, we cried, we laughed, and it was a real embryonic expression of New Earth. We're all taking our light back from that week to our local communities. It was another little pod, an embryo for New Earth. And these are all over the world, whether they're communities, whether they're spiritual training of some kind, whether they're meditation groups. These little pods or nodes are all adding to the web of light. This is what it will feel like to live in New Earth all the time. And it was extraordinary. Very loving and tremendous fun, I have to say as well. We laughed a lot. So Scorpio gives you the one-pointedness, because there's so much to distract us out there in the craziness. Please remember, bring yourself back to one-pointedness. And if you meditate, that will really help you. Or if you just focus on keeping one point of focus, whether it's a vision that you want to manifest in your future, keep that sense of one-pointedness. Martial arts experts have this. Yoga teaches you this. Meditation for sure. So although with more AI, we'll have a what's true, what's not, it will be very blurry. As soon as we turn inwards, we get clarity. And the more you practice that, the easier it will get to instantly, because Uranus is instant for you. But also, this is going to speed up. Uranus in Gemini is going to be fast. Air energy is quick. We have a lot of Aries energy still. So Gemini is fast, Aquarius is fast, all the planets in Aries are fast. It's going to be really speedy. Sun in Taurus at this full moon reminds us to slow down. The big inner slow down. Please remember, as things, there are going to be new ideas and innovations. It's going to be incredibly exciting. There's also going to be a lot of distraction and drama continuing. Be in nature, bare feet on the grass, ground, meditate, candle gaze, whatever works for you. Bring yourself back to peace, because what we feel on the inside, we can't stop it. We automatically broadcast to the collective, and that becomes the energetic template for New Earth that we are creating in every moment now. And the other thing I want to say, really, in these immense times of transformation and change, because I have a sense, really, that despite how it looks in the intractable chaos and, the war, is it on, is it off, is it ended, it's just zigzags and exhausting. But I do have a sense, because the energy is changing so quickly, that once the old starts to crumble really rapidly, which it will this year, boy, the new will come up so fast, and we'll very quickly start to see things in a very different light. We'll start to see a lot more green shoots of New Earth, a lot more community living, a lot more sharing in networks and neighborhoods. And that will give us the confidence to really add momentum to the creation of New Earth. So really feed those aspects of society when you see them. Really feed them, milk them. It's happening all over the world. It just isn't loud. And it will never be loud. It will always be peaceful. But I really would like to say to you, because this is such a unique lifetime, plan to be proud. Plan to be proud. And we're not talking 10 years or even 5 years. You know, even by the end of this year, even into next year, we will be living in a very different reality. And you really want to be able to pat yourself on the back and feel proud that you stood tall, you stood in your sovereignty, you stood in your love, you stood in your heart, and you absolutely beamed love out to the world, to your brothers and sisters all across the world. And you can feel really proud of that effort. And it's almost a question for most of your day, keeping your spiritual blinkers on. You know, at various times in the day, we come together in compassion to send peace and calm to these troubled areas, and people, you know, go through absolute horrors in wars, but then come back with your spiritual blinkers and create, because the more that becomes your default, the more energetically we are going to feed New Earth and our own biological inner change. Plan to be proud. God bless. I hope that's helped you. Bye for now, and be back very soon with some different videos too. God bless. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.